All right, so a very warm good evening to all of you. I think right now it's warm in most parts of the country, so including here in Delhi, where I'm based out of. In fact, it's extremely humid today. All right, so the biggest challenge that I'm going to have with today's session is that if I look at the number of people who are coming in and the expectations that you have in terms of the questions that you had answered, the question you had answered, what are your key expectations from the session? It varies a lot, which means that some people want an introduction who have never even heard of it, or maybe have heard of it but haven't had the chance to work on it. And there are others who are asking for DAX and advanced topics. In the amount of time that I have, which is 60 minutes, I will try my very best to do justice to a little bit of everything. But this means that those of you who have already been working on Power BI, for you, maybe the first 15, 20 minutes might be a little boring since you might not learn anything new. Hopefully, you will still learn something new, but there is a possibility that you will not learn much since you already know what the tool is, what the interface looks like. But for the others, which are the majority, this is very important because it's not that I like it and I'm asking you to work on it. Power BI is a game changer, right? Which means that just like we have Excel as a part of the job description, I was reading a report yesterday that in the next 2 to 3 years, it is expected that Power BI would become a part of job descriptions. That is how commonplace and how obvious it is going to become, no matter which industry and which functional area that you're working in. All right. In terms of questions, you can ask me by either unmuting yourself or putting it on the chat window. There is a question that I have. Will the session recording be available? Absolutely. The session recording will be available and the link will be shared with you. All right. Now, without further ado, let's get started. A very quick background in terms of who I am and what I do, so that you have a sense of what type of projects I work on. So I run an analytics firm called Havisham Consulting. My work is predominantly in Excel and Power BI, so about 70% of my work. Another 15% is on Tableau, and the final 15% is in data science, which is in Python, R9, JavaScript, and so on. But 70% of my work is in Excel and Power BI. I work with both business schools and corporate clients. Corporate clients obviously is, the bigger chunk of my business, for whom I do both consulting and training work. So I train them on these technologies. I work with a lot of big clients, including the big three, the big four, and sector agnostic. So I work with different companies. What I really like to do is to take companies from a point where they're working on Excel and start working on Power BI. Right? Before I take you through a little bit of theory, because that is also important to show you the documentation and some numbers in terms of what is the competition like. To get you excited, the first thing I would want to do is to open Power BI and give you one example, just like a teaser, just to make it a little more exciting. All right, so we have 39 people who have joined us, so we have a good turnout. How to download, where to download, is it free? Why should we learn it? Why should we not learn Tableau? These are all obvious questions. Some of these questions will get answered, right, in the next 60 minutes. If it doesn't get answered, like I said, please just put it on the chat window. Small question, large question, and I will answer it. This is what Power BI looks like. It's a Microsoft tool. It is completely free of cost. So all of you can go and download it, but it is not available for the Mac. For the Mac, you can only work online. You will not be able to download a desktop version for Power BI. Yes, so everyone, the recording will be shared as a link later, but only to the people who are attending. Perhaps I'll make a public link. I haven't yet decided. So don't miss the session. So this is Power BI, and what I want to do is, I don't want to introduce the interface, one by one, telling you this is the first button and this is the second button. One reason is that is not why you're here. You're here to see what the tool is capable of, not go through a 5-hour training, right? And the other is we don't have time to do all this. The file that I'm working on is it's one of the most popular data sets in the world. It is called the Global Superstore Orders data. Why is this data set so popular? Global Superstore Orders. Because if I go online and I just search for it, I say Global Superstore You will notice that there are many, many links that talk about this data set. It is there on Kaggle, it is there on the Tableau community. And if you look at image search, you will see that many people have created dashboards from the same data set on which I'm going to work. But what is so special about it? I mean, why is it that around the world people are working on it? It is a fictitious data set, but the reason it is so popular is because it is inbuilt in Tableau. So whoever has been working on Tableau for so many years, this is one of the first things that you do. You start working on the Superstore dataset when you want to practice. That is why I also recommend please practice on this. Why? Because there are so many existing examples already available. Do you see all this? People have created these beautiful dashboards, and like this is a Power BI dashboard. Every dashboard will be different to the previous one. And this is an excellent way for you to learn from others and compare your work to others. So you make a dashboard, see what the other person made, and try to identify what makes their dashboard a little better, right? Okay. So what is the data? Just quickly introducing you to it. The data that we have is about 50,000 rows. So it's a mid-sized data set. The data is completely clean. So there are no errors, no blank cells, blank rows, nothing like that. It is a 100% clean data set. And what we have with us is 15 columns, which is the order date, shipping date, customer name, city, state, country, region, market. So from column D till column H, I have the geographic details, city, state, country, region, market. We have 165 countries with us right now, including India, obviously. After that, I have the product details. So I have my category. Let me just select it. I have the category, segment, and the subcategory. We are selling three categories, we are selling three segments, and we are selling 17 subcategories. And finally, we have the sales quantity, discount, and profit. So it's a very straightforward data set. What type of questions will you want to ask or present to the management? Top sales, bottom sales, best country, worst country, top three products, trend line for the last 5 years, stuff like that. Right? We have the data for 4 years with us right now. What I want to do is, as you can see, there are no formulas here. It's just a raw data set with me. I will close it. I will open Power BI, and we want to connect to that file. Now, Power BI can connect to many things, not just Excel files. And if you notice, look at the number of things that Power BI can connect to. So we have over 80 connectors available, including Excel, text, CSV. We have Google, different types of databases. We can connect directly to the internet, right? We can connect to big data. Then we can connect to other APIs. So we have Google, Salesforce, SAP, and so on and so forth. You can go and have a look at this later. For now, life is very simple. We just want to connect to a simple Excel file. So I select Excel, click on connect, and we select our Power BI Global Superstore file. And you can see here that I have the option to select the table that I want, which is table 13, which is the one I showed you. And I click on load. This is almost like making a pivot table, just like you make a pivot on Excel. Similarly, we are loading the data on Power BI. And now you can start to do these fancy things. For example, one option is you make a dashboard manually by selecting charts and visuals like you have here. But the better way, the faster way of working, if when you're a beginner, is to just click on the button called Q&A, which is question and answer. You click on this button and see what happens. All I have to do is to ask a question. That means I can ask a live question in natural language. So this is called NLP. So when I ask a question and say, okay, show me my sales, what does it do? It automatically tells me, okay, Havish, from your data, the total sales is 12.64 million, right? We did not have to tell it which column to go to, and we did not have to write a formula or make a visual, nothing. We just said, show me my sales. Right? Now, I don't know, is it visible? It is clear for the others because I have a 100 Mbps connection. So, and I'm not facing any issues on my end. Can somebody else confirm if the screen is visible or is it a problem on my end?
Yes,
it is. Simant, I would suggest if you can just quickly disconnect and reconnect, maybe that will help. All right, thanks, Nala. Okay, great. Thanks, everyone. So this is a very simple question, right? And you must be thinking, but how far can we take it? Very far. Okay, just watch. I can say, show me my sales by segment, and it will automatically break it into a segment. And now you're happy because you get a chart, but maybe this is not the chart that you wanted. You wanted a pie chart. You can say as a pie, and it will make a pie for you. How cool is that? Let's now something more detailed. I will say, show me, or whatever, tell me my total sales for each state in India as a map. Very cool, right? Tell me my total sales for each state in India as a map. And the best part is you don't have to learn any syntax or any code. This is what we say when we say zero code. These are zero code platforms. You don't have to code anything, right? We can code if we want to, which I'll show to you. But as a user, 80-90% of us don't need to do anything more than this. We are happy asking a question and we get the result, right? And you can see how it works. So if I change it to Germany, it automatically takes me to Germany. Right? Now, Priya, I will not go through the steps again. I'll tell you two reasons why. One is that these are very simple. All I did was I clicked on the Excel button here. The other is that the session will be recorded, right? So you will be able to go back and watch it. I understand because I'll be going a little fast since I want to cover a lot of things. Some things you might miss out on. But then you have the luxury of going back and rewatching it. If you have any difficulty, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. But I would not like to repeat anything anybody, not because I don't want to, I would love to, but it's just that we have a very fixed amount of time and I want to make the most of it. Right? So I hope you're okay with that. This is NLP, works beautifully. But then you might say, but Havish, what if we ask something more customized? What if I say, who are my top 5 customer name? Now the tool is smart enough to do that. It says, these are your top 5 customers by sales. But what if you say, I want to see my consistent customer, and you see the problem, right? The system doesn't know what does consistent mean because it's a keyword which is not there in my data. Now I want to say that consistent is a customer whose sales is at least 10,000, correct? But how do I define that? To define it, I can just click on this button, right? Define consistent. It will take me to a new window. This is still a preview feature. So if you look at the bottom, it is still not finalized. It's still in progress. And I can say that what does consistent mean? Consistent means anybody who has sales of greater than 10,000. And how many of such customers are there? As you can see, not a lot. It's a very small subset. We only have 5 customers. So let me make this 7,500. So this is what we're doing right now. We are training the system to better understand what does my query mean. So the moment I say that, okay, consistent means this, and I close this, you will notice that we're able to get the result now. Right? So this is a very simple training that we are doing internally. Divij, how is this happening in the background? Is it picking keywords and then processing? Absolutely. That is exactly what it is doing. It is picking up the keywords and then it is creating a query from it. But what if you say, no, I'm an IT guy and I want to make it very detailed, right? You want to put your own schemas in it. So let me give you an example. When I go to, just a minute. When I go to modeling, there is something called a linguistic schema. As you can see, the linguistic schema allows you to better define how the Q&A will work. I showed you a simple way. Now let me show you an advanced way of doing this. The linguistic schema will accept a JSON file, which is a JavaScript object notation, right? I already have a file with me. So allow me to show that to you. So this is a linguistic schema that I have. Just a minute. Let me open it with. Now, those of you who do not come from a coding background, you will be wondering what the hell just happened. Why have you suddenly opened code? Ignore it if you want to, but then this is also a wonderful opportunity for me to convince you how important coding is. You cannot work in the future, in the next 2 to 3 years, if you do not know coding. Let's be honest. I'm not saying you need to be an expert coder and you need to do a course from upgrade. All I mean to say is you should have a sense of coding. What is a comment? What is a loop? What are the different types of scripting languages, right? What is HTML? What is JavaScript? Because you don't have a choice, right? What is going to happen is that even tools like Power BI, which on face value seem very simple, at the back end, if you really want to be an advanced user, then you have to define all these things. You might not be the one typing it. Somebody else will do it for you. Like I have done it for you. Correct? I'm not asking you to do it. But who's going to explain it to you if you don't even know how to interpret it? For example, if you say, but Havish, what does this curly brace mean? You know, what is a binding? Then I'm not going to accept that answer. If you're working as a business analyst, then you at least need to have this level of awareness about how coding works. Once again, I don't expect you to be an expert. I'm not an IT person. I come from a BBA and an MBA in marketing. I have only been coding for the last 7 years. I started at the age of 27. So I understand the apprehension you have, those of you who are non-coders. But again, the idea is not to learn and remember and understand 846 single lines of code. It is about a very high level perspective of how these things work. Right? Okay, coming back. So this is what we can do. We can set up our linguistic schemas as well. This is for more advanced and more nuanced operations. Right? Yeah, so the short answer, Himanshu, is that you absolutely have to learn DAX. DAX is not going away anywhere, and DAX is not for Power BI. No? DAX works on Excel, DAX works on SQL Server, DAX works on Power BI, and it will continue to work on other Microsoft platforms. So it's a no-brainer. I mean, you have to work on it. To what extent should you focus 20% of your time on it or 10%? I can't answer that. It depends on your priorities, but definitely you have to work on it. There's no organization that will tell you DAX is not required. Right? Okay, I'll answer that Python and R question later. I don't want to get into that right now, but I'll make sure to answer it. Okay, good. So we have seen Q&A, right? And I hope at least you have a sense of what Power BI is, the beginners, right, who have seen it for the first time. Obviously, I can make my manual charts as well, like we do on Excel. So I can make a column chart and I can put my order date and I can put my sales. And all of you must be wondering, but Havish, then what's the difference between Excel and Power BI? If this is the same chart that I have on Excel, there has to be some differentiator, isn't it? And there is a huge differentiator, right? Let me just drink some water. Just give me a moment. The differentiator is that when you're creating a visual on Power BI, we get these options at the bottom or at the top, wherever you are. So if I put it down, it will come at the bottom. If the chart is above, the options will come below. This allows you to engage with the visualization. For example, right now, only the years, but if I click on the expand button, which is the fourth one, it will show me the quarters as well. So we've created a dynamic chart. Obviously, if I go back, it will show me the years. If I click on the expand 2 more times, it will show me the month and the year. But then how do you make it interactive? Let me just add a border and a shadow first. To make it interactive, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a slicer. If you can follow my cursor, in the fourth row, the third one, we have the slicer, and in the slicer, I'm going to keep my order date. But then how do you connect both of these things? How do you connect this, which is the column chart, with the slicer? You don't have to. These are automatically connected. So the moment you move it, you notice that the chart is automatically changing. Even better, if I make another chart, let us say a donut chart with a market and sales in it, all right, I'll keep the same format here as well. Look how cool this is. Whenever I engage, right, whenever I interact with any one visual, the other one also changes, right? So these are automatically connected to each other. We call them interactions because they're interacting with each other, right? So what is it telling me right now? It is telling me that in the previous quarter, Q4 December, the previous month, December Q4, my total sales was 503,000, out of which my highlighted area, which means only APAC, has done 151, right? That's how we're able to interact with different charts. Good. Now that you have seen Power BI, we will come back to it in 5 minutes. Just a little bit of background, a little bit of theory, not theory, but a little bit of slides that I want to show you, which is very important. You have to have an overall perspective, right? So please allow me to open Power BI and just give you a quick, we have already done the interface, so let's not do that. Let me close my desktop as well. Just a minute. Let me close all the things I don't need. So we don't need this right now. And I want to show you this. Watch this. In Power BI, we have inbuilt visuals, obviously, like we have on Excel. But we also have something called custom visualization, which means you have the ability of downloading even more visuals from the internet, and anybody can make them. Even better, and obviously there are like hundreds of custom visuals available. You can even make your own visual like this. If you look at this interface, without any coding knowledge, like if you know JavaScript, you can make them, but without any coding knowledge, there is a Microsoft tool called Charticulator, right? Which essentially allows you to simply drag and drop, and you can create your own visualizations, right? This has just been added last month, and this is a huge, it's a huge addition to Power BI. I did not understand the question. They're not interrelated. No, they are interrelated. Python and R both work in Power BI, right? But I will answer that a little later. Okay, after this, the next thing I want to show you is, in terms of visuals, how many options do we have? Please watch this. I'm not going to do this on Power BI because here also you can look at it. It will save us some time, right? Please see this. We have our 3 bar charts and our 3 column charts, which we have on Excel. Then we have our trend line, we have our area, then we have our combination chart. This is new, okay? This is called the ribbon chart, which shows you the change from one column to the other. Then you have the waterfall, and then you have the funnel. Then, of course, you have your scatter plot, tree map, table. Then you have your matrix, you have your donut, you have your pie. And then the level of customization that you have on these charts is fantastic. Much, much more than what you can ever imagine in Excel. And this is me, who has been working on Excel for 15 years, telling you that you can't attempt to do these things on Excel. It is just impossible. Just look at the type of visuals you have available. We have something beautiful for financial analysis called the decomposition tree, a much better alternative to creating a pivot table, to creating a table in Power BI, right? This I've already shown you the Q&A. Then you have some other AI features. Let me give you an example. If I go back to the year, everybody, one observation that all of you will have is that no, the short answer is these charts cannot be exported to either Excel or to PowerPoint. The only way you can put it on PowerPoint is as a slide, as a screenshot. Nothing will be interactive. It's basically taking the screenshot and putting it. Excel and Power BI have a connectivity, but not for visuals, only the data, right? Even though it's a Microsoft product, you can't even do Control C, Control V. If you do Control C right now, I can't go to PowerPoint and do a Control V. That also does not work, right? You can embed it on a web page. So once you publish the report on the server, you'll be able to embed it, right, on a website or on any other application that you have. If you look at 2015, we can see that we have done 42 lakh 99,000, and the previous year we did 34 lakhs, which is great, right? The business is very happy. So you're thinking, I've had a wonderful year, but who is the contributor? I know I have grown from 34 to 42, but does that mean that every single country has grown? Maybe not. Does that mean that every market has grown? Maybe not. Maybe some markets have grown at a faster pace than the other ones, right? So let's keep it very simple. We will talk about business segments since there are only 3 of them. How do you know which segment has grown the fastest, right? Usually what do? We create another chart, but then that chart has no link with this chart. In Power BI, we have this beautiful tool called right click and analyze. Okay, so I've just clicked on the last column and I'm selecting analyze, and we are saying analyze the increase. It has automatically detected that there has been an increase from 14 to 15. And when I click on explain, this is an AI feature, it will automatically tell me that, Havish, there is a 26.25% increase that has happened, which is great. I did not need to calculate that. Even better, if you look, it is creating other bits of analysis. So it is telling me that, Havish, Europe and Asia Pacific, among all the markets that you have, accounted for the majority of the increase. So if you look, Europe had a 39% increase, which was 3.31 lakhs. APAC had a 25% increase, which was 2.8. But Africa had a very small increase. In dollar terms, only 50,000. You can even change the type of visual here. Like, this is such a beautiful way of presenting, right? Like, everything is in the green because everything has grown, but this gives you a perspective of what has grown the faster, right? And if I want to put it in my dashboard, I can just click on the plus sign, and this dashboard has also got added, right? Like this. So simple, and it is such an excellent way of, I call it diving deeper into your data, not just presenting data, but generating insights from it. And that is the reason the tool is called BI, which is for business intelligence, not just making charts, but to be able to derive intelligence from this thing. Yes, they can be downloaded as a PDF. You can go to File, you can go to Export, and you can, export as a PDF. All right, coming back. Of course, you can see there are many other types of visuals available. I'll not even get started because why should I? You can go online and search for all of these things. But I want you to be impressed with the variety. You know, it's not that, oh, it's the same thing and there are 15 options. Just look at the number of things you have. You have statistical tools, you have timeline visuals, you have forecasting tools, right? Probably everything that you can imagine. You like this is the Meko chart. A lot of consulting firms create this, right? So you'll have the BCG and the McKinsey of the world creating the Meko chart, and such a wonderful thing. Look at the bubble chart. One click, make the bubble chart, right? Okay. Let me answer the question. Yeah. So in fact, let's take that. They were just said, can we do a YOY analysis, which means can I see the change that is happening from 12 to 13, which you can't do in Excel, right? You have to write formulas. Here also you have to write a formula, but a single formula. You don't have to write multiple formulas. But before we do that, I want to do it in a different example. So please watch everybody. I'm deleting my file. As you can see, we're working on a complete new Power BI file. Absolutely nothing is there, all right? This time, the problem statement is a little more challenging. And the reason is that the files that I have are, I'm sorry, just give me a moment. The files that I have is not in one single Excel. That means, why do we use VLOOKUP? Because data is always scattered, right? Certain columns are available with you, certain columns are there in a different file, and you have to combine everything. Also, North gives you one file, South gives you one file, and then you have to combine it, and it's manual. So if you have 15 heads with you who are all giving you one template, then you have to manually copy, paste, filters, so many different things that have to be done. So this is the problem statement that we have. I have 3 years of sales with me. So we have 13, 14, and 15. But we don't have the complete data. So if I open one of these files, you can see that we have a very clean data with us, but we only have the customer ID. We don't know the name, and we only know the subcategory. I do not know the category. Okay. So why don't we have the details? Because this is a fact table. It is a transactional data, something that would come from SAP or from Salesforce. But you have to look it up. That means the missing fields have to be looked up from a dimension table. You have to create a relationship. Now, obviously, in Excel, we will do an equal to VLOOKUP and all that. I don't want to go through that hassle. So watch. I will copy the folder path like this, Control C. We will come to Power BI and I'll go to Get Data. We go to More and then we select. Obviously not an Excel file. This time we want to click on Folder because we want to select an entire folder like this. Okay. We click on Connect. I will paste the folder path here and click on OK. The first thing it does is it gives me some metadata. So it tells me there are 3 files and the metadata has been given to you. So, you know, different dates of modification, access, and so on. I click on Combine and Transform. Now we have to select the sheet that we want. And which sheet do we want to select? There's only one sheet, which is called Sheet 1, which is the parameter right now. And I click on OK. And that's it. We went to Get Data. We clicked on Folder. We selected the path. We selected the sheet. And if you notice, a new window has opened up. And this is called the Power Query Editor. In the top left corner, everyone. The Power Query Editor is a part of Power BI, which is also available on the cloud. And it is also available on Excel, right? So please allow me to quickly show this to you. So work in progress, and then we have times, we have outline, and then Power Query, and then let me just give you the background, right? Power Query, everyone, is in one line. It's an ETL tool. Just like you have SQL, similarly you have Power Query. But where does it fit? I mean, is it like Excel or is it like SQL? It's somewhere in the middle. It is much more powerful and much more friendly than Excel at working with large data sets, but it is not as powerful as SQL, right? So it's somewhere in the middle. There is an entire documentation available for Power Query. You can just Google it. It's a data prepping tool, essentially. And where does it work? It works on Power BI. It works on CDS, which is Common Data Service, Power Automate, and do you see what Microsoft has written? You don't need to know SQL because SQL developers mean that you need to have that background, right? Non-IT guys will not have that background. You can still work on Power Automate, which is an RPA tool. You can work on SSAS, SQL Server Analysis Services, and you can also work on Excel using the same language called Power Query. And Power Query essentially allows you to connect to multiple types of data. And it uses a completely different language called M. It's the letter M. It's called the M formula language. I'll show everything to you. But first, let me tell you what is the challenge which we face in Excel that we can solve with Power Query. Number one, Excel can't connect to different types of data, especially when it is scattered in different places. It's very difficult to manage it. Power Query can do that. Again, like I said, data is fragmented. Excel finds it very difficult because you have to use functions. There is a lot of consistency in Power Query. Data needs to be reshaped. That means you have to clean and prepare the data, which you can do in Excel, but Excel is not the right tool. You do have many functions, but it's not the best tool available. This is what Power Query offers you, a much better experience. In Excel, the problem is it's all one-off because you can't record it. No? Not a lot of people know how to work with VBA. That means that even if you've written a long, complex formula, you still have to copy paste it every single time. Right? You can't automate the process. Power Query can automate the process. And finally, if you look at big data, right? So volume, velocity, and variety, Excel has a limit of 1 million records in one sheet. Power Query can handle 2 billion records. Billion with a B, okay? That's humongous, right? That is the extent of data that you can handle in Power Query. So remember, it is also available in Excel. When you click on data, you have Power Query editor, same thing that you have in Power BI. In Power BI, we have transform data. On online, you can create a free account, and there is something called a data flow, which is just another name for Power Query. This is how the interface looks. It's a little different, but more or less the same thing. Okay, now let's look at the interface in more detail. What has happened? So the moment I selected my folder and I said that I want to combine the data from these three files, it has automatically written this. Please look on the right side. And what is this? It is M, right? It is M formula. And how does it look? This is how M looks. Is it like a code? Not really. It is very different, right? So this is similar to F#. So it is not really like a proper programming language, right? In the sense that how you build loops and how a normal language works. It doesn't work like that, right? So this is essentially a compiler in the sense that it runs it line by line, right? And how did it work? How did I manage to combine the data from three files? By the way, just to prove to you, if I show you the first column, you will notice that 13, 14, 15 has been combined. How beautiful is that? Without having to open any file, without any manual copy and paste, I have managed to combine the data from three different files, which could have been 30 different files in just a few clicks, right? But now let's see how it works. What is the first step? What did I do? Please look at the formula bar. The first thing I did was I selected a folder and I went to all the files in that folder. What is that path? This is the path. Very simple. But then is it not possible that that folder has some hidden files? Yes. But I don't want to select the hidden files, right? I only want to select the visible files. So what did I do? I only select from the rows. What are the rows? These rows, right? Only select those which are not equal to true. That means hidden is not equal to true. So they should be visible files, not hidden files. Third step, I added a column called transform file, right? If you look at the end, just a minute, look at the last column, it is called folder path. But in the next step, it has added a new column called transform file. Why are we using it? This is the most important step because in this step, we are actually accessing the content of the file. In the previous steps, we only access the file. In this step, we are taking all the data from the file, so to say. After this, I don't need other things. I just need transform file column and I need my name. I don't need anything else. So I will rename it. I'll call name as source name and then I'll remove everything else. So I've deleted all the other columns because I just need two columns with me. I need source.name and I need transform file. That means in 2013, how many columns are there in the data? Look at this. This is what we had, right? What I showed you. Same in 14 and 15. But how do you expand it? We write a function called table.expand table column and it shows you the complete data. That is how everyone Power Query works. How do you learn this language? Like a new language. It has very little similarity with Excel. Think of it in a way that it has almost no similarity to Excel. It has no similarity to anything else. It is not like DAX. It's a completely different language and you have to learn it separately, right? Is it going to be difficult? Of course it is, because it's something I've never done earlier. It was difficult for me as well when I started working on it in 2018 March. But then over a period of time, you practice and you learn it and you become better at it, right? But if you want to be an advanced Excel user, Power Query is 1/5 of Excel. You can't be an advanced Excel user if you don't work on Power Query, because there will always be people who are 50 times better than you, because Power Query is a fantastic tool. It has over 700 data transformations in it. I mean, the sort of things that you can do here, you can't even imagine doing all of this thing on Excel directly, right? Any questions on this? Anybody so far? All good. So as you can see, the three files have been combined and we have a single folder called old, which is basically my data. Let me rename it and let's call this fact_sales. All good. But the problem is I only have the customer ID. I don't have the name. And that's very irritating, right? Because I need the name. Otherwise, how will I make a report? And where is the name? The name is happily in a different, completely different place. So we have, I'm sorry, just give me a moment. Just allow me to reopen it. Okay. We have the ID and name in a completely different Excel file, which is very simple. It's a dimension. So that means that we only have the CID and the name. Usually what do? We do VLOOKUP. Why is that not a good approach? It's manual. It requires formula. You have to be careful of dollar signs. You have to do it with every single file. Then you have to drag the formula down. And it's not automated because the next time another file comes in, you have to repeat the entire process. Plus, you have to explain all this to other people. We don't want to go through that hassle. So all I'll do is I will come back to Power BI and I'll click on Excel because we want to connect to another Excel file, which is my ID and name. And since we want to connect this, to my other query, I'll click on transform data, which will take us to Power Query. And here we will be able to create a merge, right? So we have a join. Anybody who has worked on SQL know what a join is. So I will call this my dimension. So this is my dim ID. And then I'll go back to sales. We will click on merge query in the top right corner, everyone. And in merge queries, we have to select the other table, which is my dim ID. And we just select the two columns that we have to match, customer ID and CID. There are different types of joins available. So as you can see, we have our left, right, anti, inner, all of that. But we want to select the first one, which is the default, which is the left outer, which is nothing but a VLOOKUP, basically. Click on OK. The entire table has got added, but we don't need the entire table. We just need one column. And which column is that, everybody? We need the name. So you notice that I have managed to do a VLOOKUP in a way without having to do it 3 times, without any dollar signs, creating new column, writing formula. I just had to click on a few buttons here and the VLOOKUP has happened. Let's call this my customer name. And then let's take it to the left so that it comes next to my customer ID, which is right here. Wonderful. Close and apply. And obviously now you can create a chart with your customer names in it, right? So let me do that. Let me create a chart, which is a table. And I also want to keep my customer name in it. and I want to keep my sales amount in it. But the problem is that it is showing me all the customers, but I just want to look at maybe the top 5 customers, correct? So we will go to filter, we will go to customer name. I will say that I only want to select the top customers. How many? The top 5 as per the sales value. And what will it do? Obviously, it will show me my top 5 customers. Let me also increase the size so you can all see it clearly. So this is great, right? This is working perfectly. But then the next question is, somebody asked me, how do you see the change from one year to another year? Let's see how we do that. So I'll go back to another page. Let's delete this. The problem is that if I want to see the change YOY, I have to create a formula. Should you do this formula in Power Query? Not at all. Power Query is a data prepping tool. You use Power Query to combine data, append it, merge it, transform it. We're not using Power Query to do MTD, YTD, YOY, last 3 months, things like that. Can it be done? Not at all. Maybe some parts of it can be done, but Power Query is just the wrong tool for it, right? So how do we do it? For this, we want to create what we call a measure. A measure is a DAX measure. It is called a DAX expression, which is data analysis expression. Right? So quickly telling everybody what it is. Those of you who don't know what DAX is. And then we'll write the formula. So DAX, everybody is a functional language, very similar to Excel, right? So as you can see, it's a language created for handling data models. That means that when you have multiple tables all connected together. And it is used not just in Power BI, but it is used in other Microsoft products. That means you use it in Power BI, SQL, you also use it in Power Pivot on Excel. So you can use it in Excel as well. And they all share the same engine called the Tableau engine. Right? And obviously, there is a complete documentation available for it. But the good part is that this is very, very similar to Excel. So DAX is a language which is simple to learn, but very difficult to master, right? SQL BI is one of the best references. Then you have some other channels as well. You can even practice DAX online on a website called dax.to. So, allow me to first show you DAX on the website, then we'll do it in our own report. Right? I've also given you some, similarities between Excel and DAX and differences between Excel and DAX. All right. So let me come to the website. Let me just clean it up a little bit. Too many things are open. The website is called dax.do. You don't have to create an account or anything. Just open it, dax.do. They have already given you a sample data. So as you can see on the left side, we have currency, customer, date, product, and sales. And my sales has different columns in it. So quantity, delivery date, due date, and so on and so forth. Now, let's say we want to look at our customers, okay? So I will go to customer and I will go to, let's say, the customer company name, and we will say insert into editor or preview data. But I don't want to write a formula. I want to preview the data. So when I click on preview, it automatically writes a DAX expression for me. So we have top N 10 distinct. So what is happening? Go backwards. First, it is finding the distinct list of company name. Obviously, you don't want them to be repeated, correct? After that, it is showing you only the top 10 value. So I'm sure all of you can guess if I change it to 3 and I run it, it will only show you the top 3. Make sense? The evaluate is something we are using only in the online editor, but when we are working directly on Power BI, we don't need to write evaluate because it automatically evaluates. The best part about this interface is that it also explains everything. Do you see this? You have the explanation of the function, right? And there are many other tools available here. I'll not get into details. You can also make different types of charts, right? Stuff like that. And obviously, every function that is possible is available here, right? So if I say evaluate, let's say the average of something, let's say the average of my net price, right? So I'll click on run and it shows me, I'm sorry, just a moment. Okay, I'm not really sure what mistake I'm making here. Sanjay, are you there?
Yes, sir, I'm there.
Any ideas? Why are we not able to find the average here?
Sir, sir, you have taken directly the measure, right? I think we should take some
I'm
of
creating a
like
measure, so
average.
maybe we don't need to create a measure, is it?
Yes, sir, like average of
Okay, so let me try average X then. So
yes,
average X, let me select my table. So that would be my sales table,
yes, sir.
right? And then we have our expression. So expression we'll keep simple. So we'll say discount amount into my net price. Okay. So discount amount. By the way, this website is very new. It only came a few months back, and I by no means I'm an expert. So please excuse me if it doesn't work. I'm just doing this so that you get a better understanding. Okay. So discount amount into net price.
Sir, a related table.
No, but I'm selecting. Acha, acha, I'm sorry. My mistake. No, but it's sales only. No, discount amount is also here, right?
Yes, sir.
And we are
Yes,
selecting net price also from here only. Why should it give a problem? One second.
yes, sir.
I don't think it should because,
Sir, I think you don't need to put square bracket, I guess.
but we have to. Anyway, you know what? Let's not do something which I'm not comfortable with. They already have given you some videos as well, so you can just minimize this. And they have given you an introductory video and it explains how it works, right? I'm not an expert, so I'll not do this. Let me show it to you on Power BI, right? Okay. What is the question? The question is, Ish, I want to see the YOY change. That means I have made a column chart. I already have my sales and my order date in it, but I can't see, but I cannot see the change, right? So I know there's a small dip from 13 to 14, but what is that change that has happened? Let's see how we do this. In fact, let me go to my quarter view. That would be better. Okay. I want to create a DAX measure, but before we do that, we want to create a date table. Now, why do we need to create a date table? Again, I'll have to come back and show you just a little bit of, well, I haven't copied it yet. Okay, never mind. So just hold on. Okay. Why do you need a date table? There are many reasons for it. The important reasons are your dates have to be dates. No, it has to be unique values. No date can be repeated. It cannot contain blank values, no missing dates. So even if a transaction has not happened on a date, you need that date. It must span full years and it has to be marked as a date table. There are some prerequisites, right? But the short answer as to why we need a date table is because without date tables, you cannot do date calculations. Let's put it like that. How do you make a date table? I will go to my data view on the left side. We will create a new table and I'll create a very simple table for you, which is my date table. And that would be equal to calendar, the minimum order date till the maximum order date. Okay. As you can see, it creates a date table for me with all the conditions that we had kept earlier. But now this table has to be connected to my fact. That means I have to somehow connect my date table to my fact table. Otherwise, how will Power BI know that they are connected to each other? So now we go to the model, which is the relationship view. And in the modeling view, I can simply connect, if you can see, my date to my order date like this. Ignore this for now. We don't need this. This is how we create a relationship, just like you do on SQL or any relational database for that matter. This is how you create a one-to-many relationship. And now that we have done it, let me go back and we will remove the order date. We will keep the proper date here. How do we write the measure right now? I will click on new measure and we will say that, please watch. It's a slightly long formula, but it's a good practice for all of you. We will say that my QOQ, okay, change is what? I want to find out I want to calculate the sum of my sales, right? And what is the filter? The filter is date add. That means, please look at the line. It says, it will not tell you the sum of sales for the current month or for the current quarter. It will show you the sum of sales for the previous quarter. That means I will say date. I will select number of intervals as -1 and I will select quarter. So I hope all of you can see what we are doing. What are we saying? We are saying I want to find the sales, but not for the current quarter, for the previous quarter. So always -1. When I press enter and I put this QOQ change in my tooltip, which is here, look what happens. First quarter has no base, so obviously it shows you 74. Second one shows you two values, 86 and 74. How cool is that? So in one column, I can see the actual value for the previous quarter as well. But then this is not the change, right? It is just showing me that value. So what we'll do is we'll create a variable called, let's say, prev qtr. And what is prev qtr? It is this value. And then I will return a result. And what will be the result that I'm returning? I'll be returning a result which is divide. How do we find the change? Current minus previous divided by previous, isn't it? That is exactly what I do. So I say sum of sales, the current quarter, which is in the numerator, but this will be minus the previous quarter, which is my prep quarter. And what is in the denominator? It is the prep quarter, right? So what will happen? Let me also change it to a percentage. Now, very nicely, it is going to show you first quarter is 74, but next quarter it will show you there has been a 16% increase that has happened. Right? So such a nice way of writing these formulas and putting them as a part of your visual. This is DAX. What I'm doing for you right now, everyone. This is DAX, right? Data analysis expressions. Okay. So M is a different language that we use in Power Query, but for modeling we use a different language which is called DAX. Any questions, anyone? Let me take you through my website and show you certain dashboards that I've created. Okay. Look at these. All of these have been done on Power BI. So take a few seconds to load. Obit, Power Query is for data cleaning. Like, remember, we had to combine the data from multiple Excels, then we had to merge it with another Excel. We had to clean the data, remove some columns, add some values. That is where Power Query is used. So both of them go hand in hand. Let's put it like that. Right? Okay, as you can see, it's a dashboard and it's a beautiful, customizable, dynamic dashboard, as you can see. Right? So everything is interacting with each other. And there are many such dashboards that I put on my website. So look at this one. This has a map inside the column. How cool is that? Right? So it's called a tooltip, which is a chart inside another chart. Like this looks just like a PowerPoint slide, but this is dynamic. That means I can choose any date and it will show me the data for only that period. This again is a filter, so I can choose any country here. So I can say, let's say India, and it will show me the data only for India. Right? This is also a dynamic heat map that we have created like this. Right? Then this is a dynamic scatter chart. So I can see all my customers in different clusters, right? And I can also move the sales and profit amount to identify, the customers who I should be targeting. Right? Like this. So like this, there are different types of visuals. And the best part is that there is so much variety in Power BI that, I mean, you can work on it for 5 years and you will still be creating new things regularly. Okay. Yeah, so Devich, what we do is you have to first publish it. You have to first publish, right, to your Power BI service, which is all free of cost, by the way. Okay, you don't need to have a paid account for doing all this. You can publish it, and once you publish it, in fact, why don't I publish it right now in front of you? Let me first save it. Let me call it May 29th. I will publish it on my trainings and select. It will take a few seconds to get uploaded. And once it gets uploaded, I can open it on the browser, on the cloud. So I can open it. Once it gets opened, I can see the same report exactly on the cloud as well, right? But then how do I share it with all of you? I can just go to File. I can go to Embed Report, and I will publish it to the web. I'll obviously have to make the report public to be able to do this, so everybody on the internet can access it. But if you notice, I have put it on the chat window, everyone. Just go and have a look at it. Just try to click on the link and you'll be able to, there's not much to see, but then you'll be able to open this page that I've created. Right? Just paste the link and this will open up. How cool is that? Right? And the other person does not need to have Power BI installed on their computer. And similarly, you can embed it on a website as well, like I have done in my case. Yeah, so the question is, how long will it take to learn DAX? So learning DAX is a journey. It's not a destination because DAX constantly keeps on getting updated. So there is no I mean, there's no finish point that, okay, now I have learned all of DAX. If you want to learn DAX, the best website is SQLBI. These guys are the gurus of DAX, Alberto Ferrari and Marco Russo. And they have been working on DAX ever since the beginning, like about 10 years back. And DAX is very, very advanced, right? In fact, they have a very good article that tells you why learning DAX is difficult. Right? So they have a beautiful article where it says 7 reasons why learning DAX is not simple. And that's exactly what they say. They say DAX is simple, that the fundamentals of the languages not complex, but you really, really have to practice a lot. Because they say that you cannot do hit and trial. They say that trial and error that we do in Excel, we keep on trying different things till it works. You cannot do that on DAX, because in DAX, if you don't understand what it is doing at the back end, you will never be able to understand how it is working, right? Hit and trial will never work in this case. Yeah, so Himanshu, QR for a single visual, can we do it for the whole dashboard? I'll have to check. Maybe if you can just drop me this message on LinkedIn, I'll just quickly do a Google search and come back to you, because my work on Power BI service is very limited. So I don't have a ready answer for you, to be honest, but I will happily search for it. How do we connect it to Anaconda? I'm sorry, what am I saying? How do you connect it to R in Python? You have R in Python already inside it, right? So you just have to click on Python here. Let me enable it. And as you can see, you can make Python visualizations inside Power BI. Let me give you an example. So you'll have to give me a moment to find it. So Power BI is Python. Okay. Yeah, let me open this one. I think I have done it, but let me see if I can give you an example. In fact, just a couple of days back, the integration with Jupyter has been announced, right? The Jupyter Power BI, just I think yesterday or day before, if I'm not mistaken. Look at this, 4 days back, right? So Jupyter support has been added for Power BI. So you can add a package for Power BI on Jupyter, right? So you have a Power BI client, so you can just do a pip install on this. But anyway, how does it work? So you can see that I have created, which is very clearly a Python visualization. It will take some time to load. These are created Python visualizations, and how have we done it? You can see that this is the Python code, right? So matplotlib has been used here. That's how Python or R can be used here. And of course, you can run it. You can look at the settings here, right? So once Python and R is installed on your computer, it will automatically, give you a connection between Power BI, right? And you can obviously also run it in an external IDE, like I'm using Visual Studio Code right now. So it creates what we call a Python wrapper, right? Just a minute. It creates a wrapper which allows you to run Python code and essentially show it inside Power BI. I'll not get into details. Somebody asked me, so I thought I'll show it to you. Yeah. Great. What else can I help you with? Any questions that anybody has? So for the beginners, this might have seemed very scary that, oh my God, there are so many things in Power BI. But then you don't need to learn all of them, no? Because maybe your work is only to create visuals. Maybe your work is only to work on DAX, or maybe your work is only to do Power Query. It is not possible that a single person is expected to know everything. It's not possible. Like I know almost nothing about admin settings. I know nothing about sharing. I mean, very little about sharing and all, because that's not something that I manage, right? But then maybe your work requires you to work with APIs, or maybe your work requires you to create financial formulas. So you will have a core area. It's not that you will need to be, it's like saying, is somebody an expert at JavaScript? That is ridiculous. You will be an expert at certain areas in JavaScript, correct? Similarly, when you're working on Python, can a person be good with expert at Python? Doesn't make any sense. Maybe you're very good with sentiment analysis. Maybe you're very good with web scraping or something else, data science. Similarly, in Power BI, you have to identify that there are very different areas. And then which of these areas is important to you, right? Can we get Power BI service license without work email? No. So, oh, yeah, good that you mentioned that. You can only publish your report which is from desktop to the service if you have an organization account. So Outlook, Gmail, Yahoo will not work, right? Pro and premium, you can just do a Google search. I mean, why do you need to ask me? Just do a Google search, Pro versus premium, it explains everything. Premium, obviously, done as an organization level, so about 3.5 lakhs per month. Pro is, a little cheap. No, Pro is that much. Premium is even more. But now you even have premium per user, right? So for about, I think, 1,700 rupees per month for one user. Right? But you can Google search it. Power BI and Tableau, I can't answer that. As you can see, I work on Tableau as well. I have a paid account to Tableau, in fact. But then my work is 90% on Power BI, only 10% on Tableau. Which one is better? Tableau is more of a data visualization platform. Power BI is much more than that, right? Yeah, where you can learn, I mean, YouTube is your best bet. Microsoft has a lot of its own videos that they share with you. So you can just Google search and find that. And of course, I have to do a shameless plugin. So I'll share my courses with you as well. I have a lot of free videos on YouTube as well. I'll share that as well. Oh, I'm sure I must just share it on you over email. YouTube has fantastic content, right? It's just that you have to spend a lot of time and put in a lot of sleepless nights if you want to start learning Power BI well. Like there's a channel called Guy in a Cube, but they have like I don't even know how many videos they have, but you'll go crazy, right? And all the videos are like 10 minutes, 15 minutes. So I mean, it's going to consume a lot of. Imagine 4 videos is going to watch you. It's going to take you an hour to watch, right? And there are some beautiful channels like this. Right? And you can just Google it. You can say best Power BI resource. Why do you need to ask me? Just Google best Power BI resources. People have already done the hard work for you. As you can see, they've already told you the best websites, the best YouTube playlists, whatnot. Look at this. Great. Everything has been given here. Great. Any other question, anyone? Yeah, so the objective was for the beginners to see what it is, get familiar with it. I can see that a lot of you came for specific queries, and to be honest, this was not the session for that. That's why I said it's an introductory Power BI session. And what can you expect in 60 minutes? If you have any questions, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. Uh, I mean, I'm not going to do free consultation for you, but if it's a small question and it's a short answer, I'll be happy to put you in the right direction or share a link with you. Always happy to do that. Great. So thank you, everyone. I am planning some open sessions on Power BI. So paid workshops, like 6-hour, 8-hour workshops. I haven't yet decided if I want to do it or not. If I do, and if you are interested, it will all be on LinkedIn. So maybe you can join that. Yeah. So questions on these lines, I'll be happy to take it offline. All right. So thank you, everyone. We have stretched the session a little bit. So I hope you had takeaways, all of you, and there was at least something new that you learned or a different perspective. And look forward to be connected with you on LinkedIn, and hope to see you for my other sessions as well. Thank you, everyone. Yes. So my Power BI course is getting updated, and everybody who has purchased 1 year back, or you're purchasing today or tomorrow, you will get new content. So I'm not going to create a differentiation that you have the old and the new content. The new content will be given to everybody. Rahul, I do. So I have 3 courses on Power BI. One is on a 5-hour course on Power BI, a 3-hour course on Power Query, and a 3-hour course on DAX. That's the link that I've shared with you on email. So you can have a look at that. Thank you, Karthik. You don't need to purchase. I mean, are you referring to the course or are you referring to the software? Karthik, I'll have to excuse myself if that's okay. You can just maybe speak to me on LinkedIn. I'll be happy to assist you. Okay, I'll share the link with
Can
you.
I ask you a question?
Please, go
on. How much time do you think a person should invest to in Power BI just to just to get an internship or just to start with something basic in data analytics?
A week to 10 days. If you are spending 2 to 3 hours every day, a week to 10 days is enough to get you started.
Okay.
Right? And then after that, it is up to you, right? It is up to you at what pace you want to learn. Like when I started in March 2018, it took me 2 days to get comfortable with all the basic things. Power BI, like I said, is a very simple tool. What I showed you today in the second half was advanced topics, correct? But the creation of a chart, connecting it, making it dynamic is super simple. No coding, no programming, very few clicks are required. That's the beauty of the tool. No? See, Power BI has been made by Microsoft not for advanced users. Power BI has been made for everybody. It has been made for very simple users who probably come from a completely non-technical background. And Microsoft says that Power BI is so simple that you can start working on it in a day. In fact, they run a course called Dashboard in a Day. So they teach you literally in 1 day how to start creating your own dashboard. That's how simple the tool is to start working on.
Thank you for the answer.
Most welcome. How much time does it take to complete the whole Power BI basic to advanced? I have been working on Power BI and I spend at least 15 to 20% of my time on Power BI. And I've been working on it since March 2018. So it's going to be almost, we have crossed 3 years now. So, so it's 3 years and counting. And I would say that I am just starting to work at the advanced level, but there's a long way to go. Yeah. But basic to advanced, if you just want to do a few topics in basic to advanced, and if you're working on it every day, maybe 6 months or so, I think should be good enough. I'm just giving you an honest answer. See, I don't want to say 1 month because I know it's not possible. It will take you a lot of time to. I have 11 hours of course. Imagine even if you have to complete 11 hours of course, that's going to take you at least into 3, right? So, I mean, you can imagine how much time it will take.
I'm actually we use Power BI on a day-to-day basis because we work on dashboard, being in financial firms. So I am very keen to actually right now it's done by the IT team. So we
that is true for all companies. That is true for all companies. And let me tell you, the IT team is the worst people to make a dashboard. How do they know how to make a dashboard? They're IT people.
So that's why I want to I want to learn it myself and tell my manager that I can do it. We don't need IT people now.
Yeah, this is the same story that I give to every company. I go to them and tell them, why are you asking the IT team to create pie charts and column charts for you?
It's so easy. I don't know why. And that the IT team, they also, because the basic problem is the IT team doesn't understand what data we use.
Yeah, absolutely. How do they know what is the business context, what is the top line, and what is the target for next month? I understand 100% and agree with you.
So we understand the data, so it's better than we make the dashboard rather than they making the dashboard.
Yeah. I could not agree with you more.
Thank you so much,
right? Power BI, a lot of people feel Power BI is for IT folks. It's not for IT guys. It's for the non-IT guys. Because IT guys already have their tools, right?
Yeah. I'll surely connect you with on LinkedIn when you have time. I generally do with if you.
Absolutely. Yeah. Look forward to it.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, everyone, and have a good weekend.